This morning, a criminal investigation is underway into what happened in Houston on Election Day. Do you think this was criminal at all, what happened in Harris County?
It's a Class C misdemeanor at minimum.
Republican State Senator Paul Betancourt on the growing questions about why Harris County did not have enough ballots for some to vote. She is the first Democrat in 30 years to represent Collin County in the state legislature. This morning, Mihaela Plesa on the legislation she has already filed. Donald Trump running for re-election. Will Ted Cruz join the race? There's a good reason why he might not. And after going 0 for 3, what's next now for Beto O'Rourke? One of his top staffers, Jason Lee, and why Texas Democrats have good reason to be optimistic.
Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley starts now.
Good Sunday morning to our viewers across the state. Thank you for joining us for this Thanksgiving week. Let's start the program with our top political headlines across Texas. The Texas legislature is going to look a little different when Texas lawmakers gavel back into session in January. For starters, there will be twice as many Republican women in the state house as before. There were 7, but in January there will be 14. Texas also elected the first 2 black LGBTQ men to the House as well. Some Texas Republican leaders don't sound very enthusiastic about Donald Trump's third run for the White House. Ken Paxton, the state attorney general, has already endorsed Trump, but former Governor Rick Perry and Senators John Cornyn and Ted Cruz, they all said they would support the eventual nominee, but suggested they want to wait and see who else runs. And pregnant women might be able to drive alone in the HOV lanes across our state legally very soon. Earlier this year, a pregnant Plano woman challenged a ticket saying her fetus should be considered an extra passenger. Well, Republican State Rep Briscoe Cain from Deer Park wants to make it state law. His bill to do that is one of hundreds already filed for the upcoming legislative session in January. Let's begin there in Harris County as well, making national news for what happened on Election Day. At least 23 polling locations, there were not enough physical ballots for people to actually vote. 23 of 782 total voting locations there in Harris County. The Democratic District Attorney is looking to see if any laws were broken. Harris County Elections Office told us it has no comment because this is now an open investigation. But Republican lawmakers are demanding answers, and among them is State Senator Paul Betancourt, who represents parts of Houston and Harris County where some of these problems happened. Hey, Senator, welcome back to the program. Harris County is the most populated in the state, as we all know. Harris County warned ahead of time there would likely be issues on Election Day. These all seem procedural to me. Do you think there was any malice involved anywhere?
Well, at this point in time, we don't know, and that's what these investigations are all about. But when you see what the problems that we've seen on Election Day, you have to wonder. You've got 23 polls that seem to have run out of paper or weren't given enough to start with, and they weren't followed up with to get more ballots to those polls on a timely manner. The Harris County Republican Party sent a staffer over to Central Count. They actually got one of these precinct judges on the phone with Tatum's people, and the person there said, "You're not going to get any more ballot paper. You've had all you're going to get. Effectively get out of here, and if you don't, we're going to charge you with criminal trespass." That's the type of attitude we're facing down here with this elections administrator. It's unacceptable, it's awful, and it shouldn't happen because if there's a precinct with or polling place without paper, these are countywide polling places. Everybody can vote there. It's not rocket science. In the 21st century, you should get the ballot paper you need. It's preposterously bad.
You mentioned Mr. Tatum. That's Cliff Tatum, the new elections administrator there in Harris County. He's not a partisan person like other people who have sat in that seat before, though. Have you spoken to the elections administrator, Mr. Cliff Tatum, at all, or is anyone in your office?
Okay, well, first off, he comes from a background where he had blown 2 elections in DC. The problem with this whole process is hardly anybody got to speak with Mr. Tatum before he was hired, because Harris County doesn't do background checks until somebody is hired, not before they're hired. And that's the problem with the process that we've got in Harris County. And that's why there was votes against him when he was hired. Look, when there were partisan people of both parties in this election process, One was the county clerk. The other was my old job as tax assessor, voter registrar. Things ran smoothly to the point where in 2004, I actually handled 55,000 phone calls in 4 seconds. And if an election judge had a problem, we picked it up on the first ring. I don't know where this guy got training in DC because it was bad. I don't know what his acumen is because it's poor. But when you've got thousands of people that get knocked off a line in the nation's third largest county, they go to polls, they can't vote because government doesn't give them ballots. That's abominable.
Were there people who actually were not able to cast a ballot?
Absolutely. One precinct judge had to dismiss 150 people from line. Think about that. You got a line that's 150 deep and you're out of paper and you have to dismiss them. We had other presiding judges that were begging surrounding polls for paper. The entire chain of custody on ballots totally broke down because there weren't enough at these polls. And what the party has done in this investigation so far is provide evidence to the Secretary of State, now to the Texas Rangers, now to the district attorney, that it looked like these polls only had 1,200 sheets of ballot paper, which means they can only vote 600 votes if they don't have any spoilage. And clearly they had more ballots that required. And because of a law we passed, the internal elections administrator group, they've got trackers. They know how many people are voting at these places. So to hang up on presiding judges after 45 minutes to tell people you're not going to get any more ballots, it's a Class C misdemeanor at minimum.
Do you think this was criminal at all, what happened in Harris County?
The reason why yes, I believe that there's criminal investigations going on. We've got the district attorney now confirming an investigation. We've got the Secretary of State already in writing that's turned over their findings to the district attorney and the attorney general.
And Senator, what is the crime committed though? What crime do you think was committed?
It's a clear violation. You have to provide election supplies on an election, and you can't willfully not give them out.
Senator, before I let you go, I want to ask you about Donald Trump running for president, just announcing the other day. Are you going to support him?
Right now, my focus is on this, okay? Because I want to make sure that everybody understands that this effort is not about being an election denier. It's about known voter irregularities that I've testified on the floor of the Senate in prior elections. And what this means is that we've got to have immediate action. We've got to have investigations. So I'm not going to be involved in any other political activity until we get to the bottom of this mess in Harris County.
Senator, we will be watching to see what happens. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Just as Governor Abbott was calling for an investigation there in Harris County, his office also announced it's expanding its program of busing migrants out of Texas. The latest city is Philadelphia. $26 million in public money spent so far, at least through October. The question now, how far will this go? Ian Mitra is the senior managing editor at the Texas Tribune, and he joins us as always. Ian, good to see you. You know, a lot of people suspected that this might be done by Abbott before the election for political purposes, but it is continuing after the election. How far will it go?
Yeah, that's the great question. You know, already, Abbott has sent migrants to Chicago, Washington, D.C., New York, and, most recently Philadelphia. And, one of the things he said was that, because of Philadelphia's kind of policies, which he referred to as sanctuary policies, they made a good addition to the list of places where Texas could send. So, that's, Abbott has said that. So it could be potentially that there could be other places here too. It certainly seems like this plan that he's doing with the busing is not going away.
And Ian, the window is open now for Texas lawmakers to file bills for the upcoming legislative session. Based on what has been filed so far, and hundreds have been filed, are there any battle lines being drawn yet?
What Texas is going to do with this $27 billion surplus. Obviously Republicans are talking about property tax cuts. There's also other aspects of the budget, school funding, health funding that are going to be up for debate. So that's going to be at the top of the list. Certainly, there's a lot of bills related to public education, whether it's school finance, as well as aspects of, classes. There are bills being filed to, have requirements related to African-American studies, Mexican-American studies. So there's going to be a lot of debate too, and curriculum and things like that, in addition to things that we'll see on guns, abortion, and energy.
The usual suspects indeed. Ian, thanks a lot. Back to you in just a moment here. Coming up next, the first Democrat from Collin County in more than 30 years heading to the Texas legislature. State Rep Mihaela Plesa on what her win means more broadly. And what's next for Beto O'Rourke? One of his top campaign staffers says Texas Democrats do have good reason to be optimistic. Inside Texas Politics, back in a moment.
Wow, donating blood helps moms giving birth, kids with anemia, and cancer patients? Like my aunt. I had no idea.
Almost every auto insurance company in Texas has raised their rates. Call the team at Al Banker Insurance at 1-800-THANKS-AL. We review the rates of top insurance companies all at once, helping you find the best coverage that fits your needs. Call 1-800-THANKS-AL now to get covered fast.
And Better Health has helped millions get the health insurance they need. But why stop there? We're out here getting more people signed up with America's #1 marketplace health insurance brand. Him. These two. And definitely them. Nice. And Better Health offers low-cost plans and a trusted network of local doctors when and where you need them. Time is running out. Go to enrollandbetter.com today to sign up for an affordable plan. And Better Health, on a mission for better.
TitleMax offers 2 ways to get you the holiday cash you need. Get cash using your car title. Go to TitleMax.com, enter your car year, make, model. See how much you can get. TitleMax also offers personal loans. No title required. Check out TitleMax.com when you need more cash. Check out TitleMax.com, shop us for rates. Check out TitleMax.com. All credit types accepted. Find out why so many people say,
I got my title back with TitleMax.
Get your title back with TitleMax.
The flu. It spreads easily. And there are lots of ways to catch it. The flu is especially hard on older adults and small children. So keep your family protected, because getting the flu is easy, but getting the shot is even easier.
There's never been a better time to get away. With a great deal on the Hyundai you've always wanted. With America's best warranty and up to 3 years complimentary maintenance. It's your journey. Own every mile at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Hurry in to get our best deals of the season. Get in and get away. Get 0% APR on the 2023 Tucson or Santa Fe, plus 0 payments for 90 days. Visit buyhyundai.com today.
Builder surplus, we're shattering the high cost of building products.
Cabinets, and more cabinets in stock or special order. No particle board and the best prices in town. Visit BuilderSurplus.com.
You know, the biggest need for blood is right now, and donating only takes about an hour. Who can't do that?
All done?
Wow, that was easy.
Welcome back to Inside Texas Politics. Texas Republicans have always been able to count on Collin County. But for the first time in 30 years, a Democrat will represent parts of Plano in the state legislature. This is a seat drawn for Democrats, but they had to fight hard to win it. Mihaela Plesa came out on top. She is a Democrat and the new representative-elect for House District 70.
Representative-elect Plesa, congratulations on your win during the election. You're the first Democrat elected to represent Collin County in the legislature in more than 3 decades. What do you think your win represents?
Well, our win is definitely historic. It definitely shows that Texans and Collin County are ready for change. We were able to take this moment in time and build a movement around it.
This seat was redrawn for Democrats, actually. It was cut down to mostly just Plano from a massive part of the northern section of Collin County. But you won by less than 2%. Why do you think it was so close, considering it was redrawn for Democrats?
Well, look, the Republicans were going to do anything they could after this very important redistricting cycle to hold on to the seat. And they spent over $3 million against us in our general and in our primary. We had a very, very competitive primary. But, like I've been telling everybody, They can outspend us, but they will not outwork us. And so we took the time to knock on every door in HD 70 and ask those constituents, what can their government do for them? And we started every conversation like that. So, I believe that it doesn't really matter how much money somebody has. It's really about the message and about the messenger that's putting that message out.
You already have some legislative experience working for other lawmakers over the last 6 years, but this is a different role for you. You are actually the lawmaker now. What is priority number one for you?
Well, I'm so happy to say that, like I said, on the campaign trail, experience matters. So I am one of the first or the first Democratic freshman to actually file bills in the pre-filing section of bill filing right now. So I currently have a bill on the books, House Bill 733, and that's public health. I ran on public health, public education, fixing our grid, making sure we restore our rights. So those are going to be my priorities. Plano ISD is one of the largest recapture districts in the state. That means that we send back millions of dollars from our public education money, right? So I would like to see a fix on that. And that in turn will help property taxes, right? That will make sure that property owners aren't, carrying the burden of school finance.
You're walking in as the minority here. How are you going to work across the aisle to actually get things done, get things passed?
Well, that actually is what I feel most comfortable with. As a legislative director working for members in the minority party for the last 6 years, I have learned how to be successful. Representative Ray Lopez passed 6 bills last session and a constitutional amendment. And that was because we worked across the aisle. That was because we were able to build those relationships with committee members and members on the floor and show that the legislation that we're filing is not just beneficial to our districts. The bills that I'm filing aren't just going to be beneficial to HD 70. They're going to be beneficial to the entire state. And when you approach members and say that your constituents are gonna want this, they have a tendency to listen. So I feel very confident going in and know that we're going to do the work and we're going to bring results back to our district.
Representative-elect, we'll be watching to see what happens. Thank you for the time. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful and I'm ready to get to work.
Beto O'Rourke is now 0 for 3, having lost his race for governor this month. A lot of people are wondering what's next for him. We asked that to one of O'Rourke's top campaign staffers, Jason Lee, who says despite losses, Texas Democrats really do have good reason to be optimistic.
In 18, we had the wind at our back. Democrats picked up, 30 plus seats in the House of Representatives nationally. We had a backlash against President Trump. The issue environment was completely different. In 2018, the biggest issue on the border was family separation. Crime was at record lows. There was no inflation. And we picked up a number of seats in the Texas House of the Texas Ledge. And again, Beto had the performance that I just said. There's no reason to think that we can't see significant swings in our direction within the next 2 to 4 years. And we've seen it before. And based on the margin that we were able to hold this time, we see the same swing that gives Texas Democrats an opportunity to win statewide. And so by fighting this election cycle, by not letting go of the rope, by keeping that margin at 10 and 11 and not 20 like they had in Florida, we put ourselves in position in the next 2 to 4 years to make a significant swing back in our direction.
Beto O'Rourke is 0 for 3 now in major races. He ran for Senate and lost by just a small margin, ran for president and dropped out of that race, the Democratic nomination in 2020, and now for governor. What happens next to Beto O'Rourke? Would he run for office again? Is he still active behind the scenes in Democratic politics?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I can't speak for him. I know that Texans and Democrats in Texas owe Beto a great debt for all he's done for the state over the last 5 years. He's brought so much energy to our state and our party. He's brought resources. He's engaged thousands of people in the process who weren't engaged before.
Jason Lee is the deputy campaign manager for Beto O'Rourke there. What did the Greg Abbott campaign do well? Beto's reaction to losing Uvalde County and who Jason Lee would like to see run for governor next. Lots of insight here from the left. The episode of Y'all-Tix is available this morning wherever you get your podcasts. You know, now that Donald Trump is running for president, how likely is it that a Texan might challenge him? Maybe Greg Abbott, maybe Ted Cruz? The roundtable is ready when we come back.
Would you look at that?
It's beautiful.
Wow.
That's our boy.
So proud.
Enjoy a warm and delicious sausage McMuffin with egg. Get 2 for just $5.
Toyota-thon is on. Now's the time to get an exciting new Toyota. Like Camry Hybrid, RAV4, Tundra, and more.
Wow. What's next?
I knew I was forgetting something.
She's a wizard.
Toyota, let's go places.
And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand when everything's made to be broken. I just want you to know I am. I just want you to know I am.
Attorney Thomas J. Henry is recognized across the nation for taking on the tough cases and obtaining results that speak for themselves. From the time he was a young man, he's had a passion for helping others. And after 35 years of being an attorney, he still wakes up each day with that same burning desire. Thomas J. Henry, the name you know, the firm you trust.
In my small town, we focus on faith, family, and football. My journey of faith has defined who I am and whose I am. Knowing that, what could possibly stand in my way? I authored a book titled Life After Grace to encourage others to live out their purpose with their faith. I'm just a small town girl with bigger than the sky dreams. That's why I'm getting my degree online with ACU.
Pursue your undergraduate or graduate degree online at Abilene Christian University.
Confidence can take you to new places, where roads become a personal opportunity to experience the beauty of what's ahead, no matter what destination you choose next. Explore confidently in the Genesis GV80. During the Genesis year-end event, receive a $1,000 holiday bonus only at your DFW Genesis retailer.
At Long John Silver's, throw boring overboard with the fish and shrimp feast, dipped in our signature batter and fried to golden perfection. Complete your feast with Wisconsin white cheddar cheese bites and ride a wave of melty goodness. Order ahead at longjohnsilvers.com. Fish yeah!
This is Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley.
Time now for Reporters Roundtable to put the headlines in perspective. Aya Mitra is back with us from the Texas Tribune, and Bud Kennedy is here from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Bernadine Steptoe has this holiday week off. Aya, let's start with you. Donald Trump running for president, making the big announcement a few days ago. Do you expect that any Texan might actually challenge him?
Well, if they do, it's going to be hard to see that happening anytime soon. It seems like if you're putting your name in the hat early, you're going to basically become a target of former President Trump. And so obviously he's got his eyes centered on Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. But I do think that, people like Greg Abbott and Ted Cruz, they may have an eye in there, but they're not going to need to say anything or really float their names quite hard just yet.
Yeah, and we're talking about this way early, Bud. I mean, we just had the midterm election. Normally these things are happening behind the scenes, but Trump came out early talking about how he's going to run for president again. Greg Abbott seems a little less likely now. How about, Ted Cruz, though? He has to run for re-election to the Senate in 2024.
Yeah, we don't think that Greg Abbott will run. Trump endorsed him, and if you heard the other night, Trump would just went on and on and on complimenting Greg Abbott about his handling of the border. And he talks to Greg Abbott, what a great guy Greg Abbott is. And it was like he was comparing him, flatteringly to DeSantis. But I don't think Abbott will run. But Ted Cruz, on the other hand, you can't imagine that a state the size of Texas, with all the Republicans, wouldn't have more of a say-so in the nominee. Ted Cruz looks at the state. He knows he can win it. In 2016, he won 44% of the vote. Donald Trump won 27%. in that primary. He waxed Donald Trump in that primary. You know, he probably thinks he can carry the state again, probably true. And it's a matter of how much support he can get nationwide. One problem is that Donald Trump has kind of crowbarred away the My Pillow crowd and a lot of the evangelical faith and values vote is Donald Trump's that would normally have been Ted Cruz.
But Ted Cruz has to run for re-election in 2024. We all saw what happened when he ran in 2018 with Beto O'Rourke. If O'Rourke, I mean, or if Ted Cruz gets another serious challenger, he'd have to really focus his attention on the state rather than a national campaign.
Yeah, a serious challenger would, force him to really focus that campaign if he was looking for, a third term in the Senate. And certainly, it'll all kind of depend on, kind of like the politics of the time then too, and seeing kind of where things are at with the parties and where the presidential race is going. So, there's time for Cruz to think about that. But if there is a strong challenger and he wants to stay in the Senate, that's something he's going to have to really take a strong look at.
Yeah, a lot to weigh there. Bud, I want to ask you about another former presidential contender, Rick Perry. He has come out now in favor of pro sports gambling. We know casinos are making a big push to Texas lawmakers, again, trying to get a foothold in this state. Is this the year for gambling to actually happen, do you think?
It's tough to believe. One point about Governor Perry coming out in favor of the pro sports teams is that the legislature has never listened to Rick Perry, even when he was governor. And so, his endorsement probably doesn't carry a lot of weight in the legislature. The casino lobbying is probably more effective right now. Dan Patrick, who's the key to everything, has said that he's looking for jobs in tourism. Pro sports betting doesn't bring that as much as casinos do. If you put casinos just in the border counties where people don't go to Oklahoma or Louisiana anymore, you generate tourism and jobs.
What's your take on this, Ian?
I mean, I think Bud's right in talking about Lieutenant Governor. I mean, he's going to be the one who really holds a lot of the power when it comes to whether certain bills are going to make it to the floor. And he hasn't seemed to express a whole lot of interest in this. And another thing I'll point out too is that we have a $27 billion budget surplus. I think it's going to be a hard thing to sell in terms of like the financial windfall and the financial benefits if we're not seeing tight times with the budget. So that may be a factor in this as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of money in the bank for the state. We might not need the extra money the casinos might bring. Guys, thanks so much. We appreciate the time this holiday week. Thank you for watching as well. We're back again next week to take you inside Texas politics. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Take care.